All right, today we're so excited to sit down with Kristina Schechter. If you know her, you know how special she is, and if you don't, you're about to find out. Kristina is someone who truly embodies empathy. She has this incredible capacity to care for others, to show up with kindness, curiosity, and deep wisdom that you feel the moment you're around her. For the past 8 years, she's worked as a nurse and now a nurse practitioner at Children's Hospital, dedicating her life to caring for kids and their families during some of the hardest times. She brings a light into every room she walks into, an energy that makes people feel seen, supported, and at ease. She's the kind of person who becomes a friend to everyone she meets and leaves a lasting impact wherever she goes. I feel incredibly lucky to have grown up, hear from her, and get to know her the way I have. So, with that, Kristina, let's get into it. Who are you? What do you do? And why do you do what you do?
Okay, first off, that was literally so nice. So thank you.
I love you.
Love you guys
Yeah.
more. So my name is Christina. Like Kayla just said, I was a nurse in the cardiac ICU at Boston Children's Hospital for since I graduated from Northeastern. And then I decided to go back to school while I was working there and get my nurse practitioner, specifically like my family nurse practitioner. And I just graduated last May and started a new job literally in January. So pretty new to
Big
all of that.
moves.
I'm still working at Children's Hospital, but instead of working in the cardiac ICU, I'm working in transplants. So doing right now, I'm doing lung transplants, but eventually I'll be doing maybe like heart, liver, and kidney too. I'm going to be like floating around to the different areas.
That's awesome. Was it a hard switch between being in the ICU to the transplant floor?
Yeah. So it's so funny because like I feel like in general, like nursing school was really hard and becoming a nurse was like specifically in the cardiac ICU was like a very, very, very life altering traumatic at time. Like it's just so much minute to minute of your situation changing and trying to just put out fires the whole day. And like the shifts are very long. They're more than 12 hours. They're night shifts, weekends, holidays. You're like switching back and forth all the time. And I feel like at the very beginning, you're not only learning like, and I'm sure this is like in every job, like the task stuff, but also like trying to figure out how to work with your coworkers, but then also trying to figure out how to work with someone's parents
Yeah.
and the child. And I
Yeah.
think all of us probably can think about our own parents and like how your parent would be if you were in a life threatening
Yeah.
situation. And so like I feel like that plays a huge role into trying to like figure out how to be a nurse. And then now in this new role, I would say like it's actually been an easier transition than it was to be a nurse. And I don't like to say it like this, but like as a bedside nurse, like every single day you have multiple opportunities a day to make like a really, really tragic mistake
Yeah.
that really affects someone's life. And I feel like in my new role, there's a little bit less opportunity for that because it's more of honestly, my sister helped me see it like this. I think my job now is more like a macro level of helping people,
Yeah.
whereas the job before in the ICU was more of like a micro level.
Mhm.
Like there was so much little things that you were doing every day, but now it's like managing people's care over a longer period of time.
And do you
Totally.
prefer one or the other?
The first month, I was kind of like, oh no, this is just like really different. But now I really, really, really like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I don't think I've had like a long enough amount of time necessarily to know which one like I like more. But I think I'm just excited because I do think that like nursing in general is very like dynamic and you can switch to different fields and different careers and do different things within nursing. And now I definitely have the ability to make more decisions and like change systems and
Yeah.
those kind of things that I didn't really have the opportunity to do as a bedside nurse.
And I like how you said, like, when you were in the ICU, you felt like there were so many opportunities to make a difference. And it was like on the day to day, kind of like minute by minute opportunity, whereas this is like the macro. Where I found purpose in that last job, I don't have that same purpose here. And to be like, where am I finding it now? And like maybe get burnt out or whatnot. But like, I think it's so important to always be able to take a step back and be like, what is my purpose and how does it relate to the bigger picture? And I think just like your ability to do that is so important. And like, in your job specifically, because you are making such a tangible impact on lives every single day, you can always choose to have an impact and see that impact that you're having. And the more that you can see it, the more you're going to be able to make that
And like
impact.
like you said, like everything in your life you can do on a micro level or a macro level, and one's not worse or better. It's just like
Yeah.
trying to channel like, okay, am I gonna help people in my day-to-day life in little ways, or am I gonna do it in like maybe a less personal way, but way more helpful to a way greater good of people.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like we say
Awesome.
with all of our guests too, we like to start from the very beginning. So we want to go back to your early childhood. So can you start by telling us a little bit about your life growing up, your family, and where you came from?
Yeah. So the fun part is you guys know a lot about my family, but I grew up in Medfield, the third of six kids. A little bit of a unique situation because my parents had four kids biologically, two older brothers, and then me, and then a little sister. And then after a lot of feeling like maybe there was more out there and that maybe our family wasn't totally complete, and a lot of pressure from me as a child, my parents ended up adopting my two little sisters from the Democratic Republic of Congo. And they are now, I was just saying, Ella got her license this weekend. Maya's going to
Big
college.
weekend.
Yeah, big weekend. So it's pretty crazy how much things have changed since then and everything. But yeah, so I'm the oldest girl, which I also think is very different in the family dynamic. My dad was on here.
Yeah, that was.
And my dad, I grew up with him being a physical therapist, and my mom did speech pathology, but was also mostly home with us. And then, yeah, I went to public school, Medfield High. And then I actually went to Quinnipiac for 1 year because I thought maybe I was going to be running track and I wanted to be a part of their nursing program. And then we actually, when my family was adopting Maya Falone, I decided, like, why am I in Connecticut? I think I want to be closer to home to have a better relationship with her. And so that in conjunction with wanting to be a nurse in Boston, I ended up transferring to Northeastern. So
Yep.
then I did 4 years there. And then I went to UMass Boston for my master's.
Nice.
There we go.
I want to go back to what you said, a little pressure from you growing up to adopt. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, it was 10th grade. I saw the movie The Blind Side, and my mom is a very like emotional person and is very empathetic and loves to help people and those kind of things. And I do feel like my whole life I always grew up with her talking about having an interest in adoption and wanting to do something like that, but never actually ended up doing it. Like, obviously, life got busy. She had four children. There was like other things going on. And it was on Thanksgiving, actually, that I saw The Blind Side, or the day before, and came home and was like, Mom, you used to always say like that you would adopt a kid. Like, why haven't you done it?
Yeah.
And it's interesting now because I think at the time I was actually like very aggressive in how I was telling my family that, like, you say you want to make a difference. You teach us all the time that you want to do this, but like you're not doing it. And I remember my mom and dad being like, Christina, like, this is like, we understand that you want this, but you are a kid, and like your dad and I like have a marriage, and like we have to be on the same page about how this work. I think Kayla was very involved in me like making her watch YouTube videos all the time of people adopting children. But the truth is though that I knew that my mom had always wanted to do this. It was
Totally.
just, like, not the right place or time in her life. And
Yeah.
I also think that's like such a cool reminder for us as we get older that like you can be into something and you can want to do something, and then life happens and you like completely not like forget about it, but I guess in some ways. And then you decide like later in life, like, oh, this is actually something that's still an
Totally.
interest of mine. And it's never too late.
No, and that's like that was always part of your mom's path, but she wasn't ready at the time when she had four young kids, and it
Yeah.
was like she needed her daughter who has this strong, passionate personality to be like, "Okay, now's the time. Like, let's do this." You were her child for a reason, and you helped her make that
Yeah,
choice.
is the one who taught me like
Totally.
to have
Yeah.
these thoughts and opinions and things like that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so basically that was like a huge, I would say a huge part of who I am now, because like going through that experience and
Can you talk a little about the experience, like a
yeah,
2-year process, and like what was that like? I remember it being a long process and obviously like very emotional. Like what was it like seeing that process and you being like, I want my sister to come home, and then also watching your mom and your dad go through like the emotional process
yeah.
of it as well.
Super. I actually got the timing wrong. I was in eighth grade when I saw The Blind Side because Ella didn't actually come home to our house until she was in 10th grade, till I was in 10th grade.
Okay.
So it ended up being like a little bit over 2 years. I feel like everyone in my family felt like our life was like on pause, and like we were always waiting, like, oh,
Yeah.
when we adopt Ella, when she comes home, when this
Yeah.
is a thing.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like a super interesting way to have like your life is moving on in so many ways, but you also have this like thing that you know is coming that you don't know much about
Totally.
yet. And then for Maya's situation, I was older. And so that more so came from my dad being like, that was such a beautiful experience that Ella is a part of our family. And like, there's opportunity for another child who is a little bit older to fit perfectly
Yeah.
in the middle of Sophia and Ella. And that's how Maya filled in the gap perfectly and has been both of them have been like the best things that have ever happened in my life and to our whole family's lives. And I think it also goes to show like, when I was little, I had such like I don't want to say like an ignorant perspective, but like, Mom, we need to help these people do this thing. And it's like, no, that is not at all what happened. Like they came into our family and completely shifted the dynamic in the way that we have looked at the world and the way that we try to be more understanding and all of those things. And yeah, I think it's just a cool thing when you think it's gonna be one way and then it's complete like
And I think that happens whenever you go, like, I'm gonna help someone. And then
yes,
they realize, no, like, just the act of like choosing someone other than yourself is actually like gonna bring so much more fulfillment into yourself. Like, and that person is gonna like
I
give
think
it
the
back.
planning piece is interesting too, because like your parents may have thought about it, and then like you said, there's never any right time. So sometimes you need that person like that's just gonna persuade and be like, no, this is my way of thinking, and this is what I think we should do, and someone to push you to do it. Because you can't.
and I think it reminds you too that like children have such because now as an adult, like I look back at that and I'm like, that was crazy that I was like telling my parents that they should do this.
Yeah.
But it shows that like a child's curiosity and a child's like determination. I think a lot of the time in our world now, we're always saying like, oh, Gen Z, oh, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, they're actually the people that we
Children.
should be learning everything
Totally.
from.
Like, this is the time. It doesn't matter like the bills you have to pay, the food, like
Yeah,
the
I didn't
errands
know
you
about
have
any
to
of
run.
that.
Like
Yeah.
you didn't know you weren't thinking about any of that. And like of course your dad's thinking, like any parent is like thinking about all the other logistical
Yeah.
things, but like the reality is like is bringing somebody into your family and like having more love, you figure it out and it's like that person's going to bring so much more to you and you're going to be able to figure it out. You can't
Exactly.
keep pushing something off because you don't know if you'll practically be able to figure it or like what is that going to look like logistically. So, and that's the purity of a child that
I feel
comes
like your
from.
personality, you kind of have a youthful personality that been able to carry through. I don't know where that comes from or how you do it, but is it just kind of innately who you are? Do you feel like you spend time with people where they bring that energy out of you? Or a lot of times I feel like you bring it out of other people, but you have such like a
Oh,
free-spirited energy.
that's funny. My dad actually always says that. He's like, Christina's here to try to bring the fun.
Yeah,
I do. I'm always like, I don't know. I guess, I don't know. I don't know. That's really nice that you think that I do that.
Yeah.
But
We
it's very true. Like any
we're
room you
never we're
walk
never too old to have fun. And like I think a lot of the time people feel really awkward wanting to do things that are fun.
I think that's actually a good point. Like as you get older, you do
feel
feel
like
awkward
really
about
awkward.
things. No, no. No, but like it's true, like you're so good about just like finding like joy and love and like excitement and fun in like any moment in any environment. And the thing is that like it's something that some other person might realize, oh, that would be so fun, but wouldn't do it on their own. And then you make the choice to do it, and then they start doing it with you, and you're like, you know what, this is so much fun. So I think it's such a gift. You give a gift to everybody around you when you just by
Oh,
you. I remember like when we were younger, you always knew that you wanted to be a nurse. It's just like so in your genes to be a nurse and in your blood. Like you were made for it and you just have so much empathy and you're so smart and you know how to handle things. Was there like a moment that you're like, "Oh, I think I want to be a nurse," or did you see a nurse that you wanted to be, or how
no,
did you
I actually do have a moment. So basically, so my dad's physical therapist, mom's a speech pathologist, so they were both in healthcare. I was always extremely intrigued by the pediatrician growing up, but I had really, really, really bad anxiety and hated going to the doctor. It was a very weird thing where I would like want to pretend that I was a doctor at home and stuff, but actually hated being at the doctor. And I always felt very anxious, just like in the medical sense of people asking me questions about my health or being worried that something was wrong or I don't know, something like that. But Kayla, we went to Haiti when we were in 8th grade or 10th grade on a mission trip. And honestly, when I look back at that experience, of course it was so impactful for all of us, but I have now learned a lot about how mission trips actually aren't really great things for people to go on because unfortunately they're not sustainable.
Yeah.
And of course there are a lot of mission trips that can be sustainable. But I think what I was saying when I was little,
Yeah.
you think, oh, I'm going to go help all these people. And honestly, what we took away from that trip was all these people changing our lives. And that's
Totally.
really important. And that's a really good reason to go so that you change the whole future of your life based on people that you met and experiences that you had. But I sometimes look back and I'm like, you go to this place and you try to think that you're going to provide something for people and it's actually not sustainable. So, but when we were there, my dad was doing some physical therapy on an older woman there. And after he showed her like some exercises and did some things with her, she was crying
Yeah.
about how she felt like finally someone had like taken what she had said seriously and made a difference and changed something for her. And I think I didn't know that at the time, but now that I've had time to look back and think about like, well, why a nurse?
Yeah.
I realized in that moment that healthcare is one of the only sustainable things that you can provide for another person. Like you can give someone a pair of shoes. You can teach them how to brush their teeth because teaching someone about their health and
Yeah.
about ways that they can be healthier
Yeah.
is one of the best ways to pull someone out of a bad situation or to allow someone to like have their life flourish. You know what I mean? And if you don't have the education to know about your health and like, then you can't really do much for yourself. So I feel like at that time, I knew that I wanted to do something in healthcare, but I also really, really, really wanted to be a mom and wanted to be with my kids more than I'm not with them. And I was afraid that being a physician wouldn't allow for that.
Yeah.
Now I realize that's actually not true and you can make it all work. But that's kind of why I was like, okay, I think nursing is like a happy medium. I'll be able to teach people about their health, which is so powerful, but
Yeah.
also eventually get to have like a family and be at home.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think it's so cool that you listen to that because I think there are so many people who could go there and be in that moment and be like, "Oh my gosh, this is so sad." And like I feel so bad for this person and it can like deeply impact them, but they don't make that change to be like, "How do I use my gifts to then make this person better?" Like not even just this person in front of me, but like all people better. Like and you do have that. It's like when there's a question in your brain, you don't just push it to the side. You're like, no, how do I find a solution? And I think that
Yeah.
it goes into all areas of your life. And I think that moment is like such a defining, a good example of who you are. Like you see an issue, you see a problem, and you don't just listen to it and then just move on with your life. You're like, no, I'm going to solve this problem. And like, how can I be part of that
Find a
solution?
more sustainable way to actually allow them to take control of their life. And last summer, I was able to go on a trip, a medical trip to Honduras and see that sustainable healthcare, these people have been providing help for these people in a rural village in Honduras for over 20 years. And
What does that look like? Like, how do you make it more
well,
sustainable?
so the whole thing is not just going in and dropping resources somewhere and then leaving and never coming back.
Yeah.
It's about like actually showing up and coming multiple times. So this group goes twice a year, every single year. If anybody, I'm gonna give them a little plug, but
Yeah.
Cape Cares, it's a really cool organization, but they go to Honduras, two different places twice a year.
Yeah.
And they actually run a primary care clinic and they give enough medication to help these people last until they come back in 6 months from then.
Wow.
And then so they continuously are getting their medication.
Yeah.
And then they're also a huge part of it is training local people there to be able to actually help keep this healthcare model going because so much of it is educating people
Yeah.
like there and spending the time. Like one thing that was my favorite moment from the trip that we went on this year was teaching a woman who wanted to become pregnant and
Yeah.
teaching her about her period and
Yeah.
how it even works.
Yeah.
And she was like, wait, what? Like, this is all through a translator, but
Yeah.
she was like, wait, no one has ever taken the time
Yeah. Wait,
teach
can you
me.
tell
She
that
had been trying
story?
to get pregnant for a really long time. And I asked her, like, well, do you know when you should be having sex to know when to have a baby?
Yeah.
And I just learned that like she didn't know, no one had taught her that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she left that day feeling like a huge sense of self-empowerment that like even if this doesn't work, even if that she can't have children, whatever it is, to
Yeah.
have knowledge about your own body and how it works and
Totally.
feel like you can actually make a change to yourself, I feel like
Yeah.
is crazy. Or teaching people about, oh, well, why are your teeth breaking down?
Yeah.
We
It
didn't
empowers them to take take action
This
on
is what you need to do, or how can we make your blood sugars actually stay down? Like,
Yeah.
this is great, you have insulin, but like, you also need to go on walks, and like, what foods cause your sugar to be higher? Like, a lot of people just assume that people know these things, but taking the time to actually explain it to them.
Totally. Our other question, so we wanted to you take care of people all day, every day, and I'm sure that it fills your cup in so many ways on an individual level. There is the reality of you have to take care of yourself to be able to take care of other people. Are there times when you feel like this is taking such a toll on me and I'm feeling just so sad about what I'm seeing every day? How do you take care of yourself during those times when you're at your job and you're seeing somebody who's suffering and you're holding their hand through their suffering, and it's an extended amount of time that you're watching this person go through this like horrific journey so that you can keep showing up for that person?
It's a great question. I think it's still a learning process. When I first started, I was not very good at it. I think that that's normal, and that's how it should be. And like, you are this innocent child who thinks that, once again, that you can like help all these people and give all this stuff to people, when in reality, like, it will eventually take a toll on your mental health and yourself, until you figure out like, okay, how can I actually have like a separation but still be there for these people that really need me? I think a huge part of it goes back to being like, this isn't my life. This is my life, this is my job, but these people, okay, every single day I guess I say to myself at work, I'm not the one who has to live with X, Y, or Z forever. This parent has to be the one who can live with this choice, or the way that I supported them. And so I always try to channel that, like, when I am in a situation at work, of basically just trying to figure out like what is truly best for those people. Because it's easy for me to think you should do this, or the decision you're making for your child is wrong. But it's like, that's not a decision that I have to live with. That's a decision they have to live with. And the only thing I can do is help support them in that choice.
Yeah.
I think at the beginning I had a lot of trouble. Like, I would come home from work. I'm so thankful my college roommate Isabel was like who I lived with when I graduated. And she poured so much into me, of just like asking like, how's your day? And listening to everything and giving advice. And also my mom, I would basically call her every single day on my way home. And it's interesting because I never want to say that I have that I would want to become hardened or something like that, because I think if that happens, and you should leave the career that you're in.
Yeah.
But I think that in order to have a successful life, when you're seeing the worst day of someone's life almost every day of your workday, you have to figure out a way to create some sort of boundary between like your work and your home life. And I think over time I've become better about doing that. I don't really know how, but I guess it's just by like spending time with people who fill my cup, working out, fitness, wellness. Yeah. But it's definitely like a learning process, and having a good partner who's really kind and understanding.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jake.
Yeah.
I feel like too, first of all, I can never imagine being a nurse. Work-life balance, yeah, but that's like a whole different extreme, because not only it's not like getting a certain document right, like you said, it's dealing with people's lives.
But to every person, this is one thing I say to Jake all the time, like, because sometimes when at the start of our relationship, when we did start living together, I felt like he wasn't able to share with me when he was having a bad day at work, because he didn't feel that it was as bad as like maybe something that I saw at work that day. But at the end of the day, it's like, no matter what, it is extremely stressful to have someone who's unhappy with you, mad at you, or whatever that might be. Maybe you didn't put something correct in your Excel document. Maybe you sent an email, and everybody has external pressure from everybody. And I think that like there isn't one thing that's worse than the other. It's just like what you get used to. Does that make sense?
I think it's a great point.
Yeah.
Because like everybody has a bad day. You can have the worst day ever, and it's really not. You could always say, of course, there's something worse that could be happening to you, but it's still stressful to yourself.
Totally. It makes whatever is emotionally making an impact on you is an emotional impact. That emotional impact that you're having as an individual, like having a human experience, is a similar experience, regardless of what made that impact on you. But,
Yeah, we've talked about that too. Like, I feel like I've done that before, where I'm like, well, I can't say this because it's nowhere in comparison, but then you kind of live with it, and then it dwells within you, and then it's
100%. I think that that's important to say, is that like it doesn't matter what the situation is, something can still be hard, you know?
Totally.
Another
And if you just hold it out inside, you're doing yourself no favor because you're just building up negative emotional feeling. When we asked you like how do you deal with it, you talked about Isabel, you talked about Jake, you talked about your mom. Like it's having the community and people around you to bring you up, and that's what, regardless of what you're going through, like you need to turn to your people and you need to be able to have those conversations and you need to talk through whatever emotional experience that you're going on, whether it's in a hospital, whether it's at a business meeting, whatever it is, like you have to have those people around you to
Totally.
turn
And in
to.
the same way, I've also found that throughout life, like you can't, at least for me, you can't just put everything into one person, like that your partner should be the one who can deal with like your bad day. Like it's okay to have some people in your life that you would call when you're having a bad day at work, but then you would have a different person in your life that you would call when you're having a bad day with a friendship. And you would, just in the same way that you would call up a different friend to go to a workout class, then you would call out a different friend to go out at night with, right? And so like
Yeah.
making sure to not put all of your problems or your energy into one person, and instead like finding that you can find it in a bigger community.
flipping to the other side, I think as sometimes as a friend or a partner, you can't expect to be the one that the person goes to all the time. Like I'm thinking of the friendship example because I feel like it's easy, but say you see your friend go off and do a workout class with someone and you're like, "Oh, why didn't they invite me?" But it's like you don't have to be that person for
Yeah,
everything. Makes
yeah,
sense. You shouldn't feel worse about yourself. You just be who you are. Like no one's gonna
yeah.
beat me up to stay out until 3 a.m. and I shouldn't get offended by that because I wouldn't want to anyway.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point. Is in the same way that you have to look for different people in your life to fill different parts of your cup, you're not going to be able to fill all of someone's cup either.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I have a question too about being a nurse. So we talked about having separation when you're outside and being with family and kind of leaving work at work. But what about for someone like you? You're someone who is very empathetic. What if you like, I feel like I kind of get emotional on the spot. So how do you, because you, like you said, you don't want to completely harden yourself, but like, not cry. Like when you see something on the job.
Yeah, I think there have been definitely situations when I'm at work that I cry about things. A huge part of it is the people that I work with, like in my job in the ICU. The other nurses that I worked with are literally some of the best people that I will ever meet in my whole life. And it's more so because like you become very close because you go through a really messed up experience together. And so for a lot of it, it was like older nurses, which I know they say like nurses eat their young. And of course, there is like this whole mentality of like some older nurses being mean to young nurses. But for the most part, I felt like I had so many role models and people who would be like, hey, it's really normal and it's really okay that you feel sad right now. But going back to always reminding yourself that this situation is not about me. And I tell myself that all of the time when I'm in a patient's room and something is making me feel like really sad and emotional inside. And I think for some people, some families, it's actually really helpful for them to see that you feel sad because that lets them know that their child is so loved and that it's okay that they're feeling that sad because other people are feeling that sad too. But I also think in some ways, being able to say to yourself, take a step back. This is not my child. This is not my life. And I need to just support these
Yeah.
people because it is their child and it is their life. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me, we talked to Lori Nealon on this, and she always talks about it as like a screen. It's like you need to be there, present, and experience it with like experience the outdoors, but you can't let all the bugs and everything in that's gonna impact you when you leave. Because I think what you're saying about being there, having the emotions, experiencing what is going on with that person is so important because it's you're being there for them and like you're showing empathy, you're
Yeah.
having compassion, and they need that from other people while they're going through this negative experience. But like you can't take it all in and you can't bring it
It
home
wouldn't
with
be
you.
sustainable.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
okay. And I think for some people, they realize that they can't do that and that then it's not the right profession for them. And
Yeah.
that's totally okay.
Totally.
But I think after a certain amount of time, you realize like, oh, well, if it would be physically impossible to go home and be sad
Yeah.
about X, Y, or Z all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. True.
That's
Yeah.
why I can't imagine being a mom because I already feel like it's hard for me to do that. But once you have your own kids, nursing's one thing, being in a relationship is another thing, but then actually having kids.
Well, and I feel that way like when Ella or Maya are having a bad day, or Sophia, I feel such immense sadness for them. And I'm like, this is just my sisters. I can't even imagine children. So I guess I'll get back to you on that one.
I was gonna say we might talk about that
Yeah.
a little bit now.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, so you are going to be a mother soon. So as you like step into motherhood, what are the values you feel are most important for you to pass on to your kids? And what do you want to prioritize as a mother, but also as a family?
Yeah, this has been a huge weight on my mind recently, actually. I have a really great therapist, and that's actually something that I've been chatting with her about. How can I make sure that I don't pass the bad things of me on to my kids and the good things on? And she always reassures me that like that's not going to happen, and you are going to pass things on to your kids that you don't want to, and vice versa. But there are a lot of things that you can do to make sure that you raise your kids in the way that you want. So I think for me, the biggest hope. So I read the book The Anxious Generation, which if other people haven't read it yet, I would highly suggest it, by Jonathan Haidt. And then I was actually recently just going to buy another book called The Conscious Parent, which I've heard is really, really good. And it's about kind of being conscious of your own insecurities, your own thoughts, your own beliefs, and how can I instill some of it in my children, but also allow them to not feel bogged down by like my thoughts and my beliefs. And I'm very well aware that I am a very opinionated person, and I want to use the word passionate, but sometimes my mom will use the word controlling. It want to just figure out how I can be walk the line with that with my own children. So I'm hoping that book will help me a little bit. I think for me, the one thing that I really loved was that both my parents passed on the love of health.
Yeah.
And just like my whole life, I grew up with both my parents prioritizing working out, eating healthy, but that actually wasn't like a deep conversation in my house at all. As Kayla knows, we had a lot of fun food and snacks in my house. But I loved that I always thought to myself, like, oh, mom's going to be grumpy if she doesn't get her workout in today. And for me, like, now when I look back, I'm like, wow, I love that my mom prioritized going to the gym every single morning and working out. And it was never about being in shape or losing weight or anything like that. It was always just mom is happier when she works out. And I mean, if I feel like if you walked in my house on a Saturday morning, my dad would be like stretching everybody out on the counter,
Yeah.
trying to prevent ACL tears and things like that. And so I hope I am able to help my children use that as like a lifestyle and not just like, because I think, like I talked about, like learning about your health and all these things is sustainable, but then also it's like a huge coping skill for so many problems that we have. So yeah, I hope that I'm able to pass that on. And then honestly, my biggest wish is that my kid is just kind and like inclusive to people. That's like all I hope.
If it helps at all, we actually, when we brought your dad on, we had the same questions to him. So he's an adult who was raised all
Oh,
and we said, I was curious. I was like, did you act a certain way when you were raising your kids to kind of pass down whatever you did to your kids? Because they all ended up amazing. And he was like, no, I think a lot of parenting is just you do what you do and they kind of absorb what happens. So I feel like you being from your parents, but also just like the things that you prioritize and do naturally will get passed down to them. And I'm not close to being a parent yet. But I feel like I am someone who would probably be like, well, I hope I'm doing this right and whatever. But Kayla talks a lot about surrendering in other aspects, but especially as a parent, I feel like, well, I'm me and I have a bunch of strengths and weaknesses, and like you said, both will get passed down, but you live such a great life that you don't even have to like think too much about what you're doing. Daily habits will just kind of get passed down.
yeah. And something that was super helpful that my dad actually told me recently was that when he had my oldest brother, he thought to himself, like, I'm creating a mini me. And he was like, the greatest lesson that I learned was my oldest brother would talk very openly about this, but he had a lot of anxiety as a child. And my dad always spoke about how, like, that was, and I don't know if he talked about it when he talked to you guys, but that was like a really hard thing for him as a parent to be like, whoa, my kid is not me. And I think a lot of the time you go into parenthood thinking you're creating a mini you and realizing that your child is not you at all. And, we all look at how different we are from our parents and stuff. But I'm sure that's kind of like a hard thing to like swallow as a parent and be like, okay, whoa, I don't feel this way about things, but you do, or you know. And so I think it's just going to be making sure that like you have the community around you, like good friends like you guys and stuff that are able to instill strength in your kids and be there for them and all those kind of things. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I'll have to keep you guys posted on how it goes.
You are going to be the best mom ever. They're not gonna be you, and, like, that's the beauty of having kids. You get to, like, meet these uniquely amazing people who are your people, and, like, watching their journey and experiencing them grow and learn and become themselves. I remember my mom always said, like, she was like, "I was always scared, like, you were guys were gonna go on the wrong path," or I was like, "And what do I do to keep you on the right path?" I always thought of it as, like, bumpers, like, on a bowling alley. It's like, I don't know where exactly you're gonna go, but like if you're going too far off here, then I have to bring you over. Or like if you're going too far off this way, like I'm gonna steer you over. But like you're in control of like
And
your ball.
I think something I saw online the other day was like, you just need to find those parent or those kids and parents and families that like you look up to and just ask their parents, like, how did
Yeah.
you do this? What did you do? What did you think about this? So I love to ask questions. So I'm definitely bombarding people at work all the time with, so what do you think about this? How would you do that? And that's why it's so cool that we have podcasts and things that people can listen to.
I also had a question that you were saying finding your people like to raise your kids with. And I think about like your mom was my second mom growing up. My mom, like we lived next door, our houses were each other's houses. I always think about like our parents have such a good community. A lot of us all went to church together and there was like this church community that we had growing up. We talk about spirituality on core and how spirituality is such an important part of my life. And growing up, I did go to church. You did go to church on Sundays, and it was a part of our life. And that community was also such an important part of my life and shaped me in so many ways. But it's also evolved over time. And we talk about this, and I think it's evolved for you as well. So I just wanted to hear a little bit about like how your relationship with like religion and spirituality has evolved and how you in ways want to like pass that down to your kids.
Think what I want right now and think how where my thoughts are going to be and what's going to happen. But I think there's a lot of factors that come in to spirituality. I feel extremely fortunate that the way that we grew up with religion was a really beautiful way of growing up, and we got a really amazing community through religion, and we had a really open-minded person who was preaching this stuff to us. I think that as I went through college, I church shopped a lot, is what I call it. I would go to a lot of different churches trying to figure out what kind of community I wanted to be a part of. And then I think that as the political climate has changed and stuff, my views of religion have also changed a lot. And I think that I'm not sure the exact way that, because I feel like I was so fortunate how I grew up with religion. I think the biggest things that I take away from it is like the morals,
Yeah.
the lessons, and then also giving you just a time of your day to sit and actually think with your thoughts and not be busy doing other things were some of the beautiful things that I took away from religion.
Yeah.
But I just struggle with how am I going to have my child have that, but also teach them about the not good parts of religion too.
Yeah.
And so I don't have a good answer for you yet
That's
because
okay.
like you said, I think it's going to be like a very much so evolving process and kind of, I guess what I hope is that my kid will grow up knowing that there is some sort of power bigger than them and that you need faith in order to get through like really hard times.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure more deeply kind of how that's going to look.
I love that answer because I think there's like it gives you the openness to explore what's right for you and your family together as your family grows. It's a journey and it changes over time and like who you
Yeah.
are today is different than who you're going to be when you have a child, when you have your
And
baby
so
in your
much of it
arms.
is just giving, to me, is giving your kids, and this is going to be all of it in life, is just like giving them the tools
Yeah.
that go in their toolbox to make the decisions that they want that are best for them,
Yeah.
like in exposing them to different religions. Because at the end of the day, most of it is the exact same thing.
Yes.
And if you can just believe in love and being kind and open to everybody, then I guess that's what I hope my kid
Yeah.
takes away from.
Totally. And you shared with me like a post a week ago that was talking about this mom who brought her kids who grew up in the Mormon faith and she brought her kids like she wanted her kids to see all different religions, brought her kids
Oh my
to
God, Morocco,
India.
like every place that you could ever imagine to teach them about religion and then at the end said to them, like, now you get to pick what you want and what you believe. And
it's almost like you don't even need to pick.
Yeah.
It's through all of these that there's love, there's worship, there's community, there's faith, there's like being together and having this unity that's bigger than who you are as an individual in all of these different types of faith. And it's like, so maybe it's not just one that's right and one that's wrong, but it's exploring them all. And I think that there's so much to learn and grow from in each religion. I was like so grateful you shared that with me, because in college I took Buddhism, I took Islam, I took Christianity, and it's just like hearing all of them, I was like, yes, there was differences in the practice of it, but the essence of it was all
I
in
was
love.
agreeing with you, saying that like most of the bad parts of it are people searching for power, and
Totally.
it's actually external people who are doing it. And the person that I shared with you, the who wrote the article, I think for me too, it was really transformative because I've actually been following this person on social media since I was in middle school.
Oh
I
wow.
would read her blogs, and then it turned into Instagram and things like that, and now Substack.
Yeah.
Seeing how her religion really evolved and changed
Yeah.
kind of just made it clear to me that like I don't have to know right now, and that mine is going to continue to evolve and change, just like I will continue to evolve and change in my job and in different beliefs and in
Yeah.
friendships and like things
Yeah.
like that.
Too, and it kind of goes with the bowling alley thing, like putting up the bumpers and then being flexible within that, especially as you become a parent. And that story you shared, Kayla, about the woman bringing him to Morocco and everywhere reminds me of what we were talking about at the beginning too, about the gift of knowledge and exposure. I think that's such a valuable thing with what you're doing in nursing and even just like health in general too. It's teaching people and then letting them take what they want and then just applying it, and then they can find what they're passionate about. Another question we ask a lot of our guests too, is when you think of a meaningful life, so when you look back on your life, what does a successful or a meaningful life look like to you in like 1 to 2 sentences?
I think for me, a meaningful life would be that I have made people feel a certain way, which is included and loved, and that I have done all I can to show the people around me that they mean something to me, and having a lot of fun.
There.
A lot of laughter. There has to be fun and there has to be laughter. And like, it's just, I think seeing death often, like you just realize life is so short. And that something I've been really, really, really trying to work on in my life is not having, which I've talked to Kayla about this a bunch, not having such a scarcity mindset of that, like in remembering that like there is abundance and there is a lot, and having gratitude for that, and not feeling like, oh my God, I don't want this to end because then I won't get to do it again.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes in the job that I have, that can happen because I'm like, oh my God, well, people, you could die at any moment. You don't know. But in the same side of that coin, you could die at any moment. So you might as well, give to people as much as you can and be fun and be spontaneous and do things that you maybe wouldn't think that you should do, because I think that's what creates meaning in your life.
Perfect answer. And I can tell you're already living that life. So just keep
Well,
being
thanks
you.
for doing these podcasts and giving people a platform to be able to share things about themselves, and also just for others to be able to listen in and learn stuff from the different people that you have. So this is really, really cool that you guys are actually creating like a platform that allows these lessons and conversations and stuff to actually be carried on.
Thank you for joining us.
Maggie and I say like this is like one of our favorite parts of the week, because it's like I feel like I get to like learn from people and just like experience how amazing and unique each person is. So we appreciate you being on here and sharing
With
your
that,
story.
who do you nominate next to be on the Core podcast to share their journey?
Okay, so I was going back and forth about this for a while because there's so many cool people. I also was trying to not make it that like I know that my dad nominated me, and I was trying not to make it like everyone's stuck in the family. But
You have a great
I
family.
think the person that I have probably learned the most from, aside from my parents in life, is my sister Sophia. Even though she's younger than me, she is a wealth of knowledge, and she's still really young, but she's been teaching people since she's been a little kid and has a really old soul. So I think I have to nominate Sophia.
I love it. It's a great
She
nomination.
knows a lot of really cool people, so she'll be able to nominate someone like outside of the family.
We There's no one, everyone is cool and we love having everyone. So we're excited about Sophia. That'll be awesome. She is a very special person.